Welcome to the Creative Youth Agency podcast. My name is Darren Bartlett and I'm your host here. We talk about a couple of things like climate change, health, entrepreneurship, and we try to bring some knowledge to you guys so that when you consume it, you pick something from it and so that you can also go and implement it. But we continue with the series on climate change. And Julian Tavaro is back, engineer Julian Tavaro. If I don't put the word engineer, it must be there. It must be there because it's your title, you earned it, I mean, you went to school for it. How are you doing today?
I'm all good, how are you?
I'm fine. Happy always, happy brand. That's what I like to call myself. But I'm pleased to have you back. And today, there's this term that is flying around that I had never understood personally. And this one I speak, on behalf of very many people. It is about, you call them repatriations or something like that. Reparations, especially when it comes to climate change. And there's this whole thing called credit what?
Carbon credits.
Carbon credits.
Yeah, when you mentioned reparations, somehow I knew you were going through
I'm going through those ones there, the carbon credits.
Yes.
And I'm told it's an initiative to encourage, I think, people to kind of plant trees or to bring back the sanity from where we had gone, where we are now, where we are having the effects of climate change. But I think it's one of the initiatives to kind of go back to the normal ways on how we were. But just explain to us what these carbon credits are, what kind of an initiative it is, how does one get involved in it, how does one benefit, and how is it going to help us go back to the times when we knew the seasons?
Yeah, so when we are talking about reparations, we are talking about climate financing. You talked about carbon debts. If you're to understand a debt, like you owe someone something.
Yeah.
So during the Industrial Revolution, of course, first world countries, were in an extensive era of industrialization.
Yeah.
So they were polluting the environment. And like, if you define climate change, like previously I had defined, it's a long-term shift in weather patterns. It doesn't shift immediately, it's a long-term effect. So their impact of how much they polluted in the past, we are experiencing it today. And unfortunately, it is third world countries that are more vulnerable to some of those effects. So through various policies and agreements from the United Nations Climate Change Fund, they go to a decision on how they can pay back African countries. But most African countries are third world, almost all of them. All of them are
maybe
third world
Tunisia, Morocco, but they are not first world countries still.
Yes,
yeah.
Like how can we pay back? We are now at a very great era of industrialization, but this much that we accumulated is causing this. And why African countries are more vulnerable to climate change is because we largely depend on agriculture for our economic sector to develop. So if our lands, if let's say the rainfall patterns are not clear, if the sunshine is not clear, if the farming patterns are not clear, the agriculture sector is gone. If the temperatures are so high, animals are dying, the agriculture sector is gone. So we are more vulnerable, largely because our economies depend on the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
So how we get to carbon credits is, these countries, the first world countries, Europe, China, USA, and the like, realize we owe Africa. There is a debt we need to pay. So they come up with the Global Climate Fund, under which Africans can benefit, can be paid back. So many of you asked me about how we get to carbon credits and how someone can benefit from this. So how we come up with carbon credits is like a farmer has 10 acres of land. They have land in wetlands, trees, all that, plants are carbon sinks. They they breathe in carbon.
Yeah.
When it is released into the atmosphere,
Yeah.
it also methane. When methane is released into the atmosphere, they don't stay there. The trees, the plants, the wetlands,
green plants are the ones that
they
inherit
breathe it, they absorb it and keep it, and that's how we have been able to at least get here. So when how you know, let's say, how many carbon credits you have as an individual is, there are various scientific methods that we use to calculate carbon credits.
Yeah.
There's GIS analysis, and also like now the easier one that anyone can really understand is, for example, a tree that was planted 20 years ago is different from a tree you've just planted today. So to get how much carbon a tree has accumulated, the height, the breadth, the circumference of the tree and the height, all those contribute to how you can calculate how much carbon it has accumulated and how much. I cannot recall it off head right now, but one carbon credit is equal to a certain amount of metric carbon something that you, when they calculate the carbon your tree has accumulated, there is a unit in which it is measured. And one carbon credit is equal to, is it 1,000 metric tons of carbon? So let's say your tree has like, let's say 10,000 metric tons of carbon. It is maybe if your tree is like 30 years. And we are saying one carbon credit is equal to 10,000 metric tons of carbon. It implies your tree has, is it 30? Because if one carbon credit is equal to 1,000 metric tons and your tree has 30,000 metric tons, it implies your one tree has 30 carbon credits.
My math, but
it's 30 carbon credits. So why they convert them to carbon credits? It's for ease of doing the business, if I may say, because it could, let's say maybe one carbon credit is equal to $500. Okay. Let's say, I don't know the rates on the market right now. It could be maybe $50 or $100. Like one carbon credit is equal to $100. So as a farmer, once all that has been done on your piece of land, and you get to know that you have maybe 300 carbon credits in your 10 acres of land, you can sell off these carbon credits. However, in Uganda, there is no regulation. We do not have a carbon registry. Even if you got to know how many carbon credits you have as a farmer, like who regulates that?
Yeah, because I'm trying to understand.
Who regulates that? Yet on ground, because some time back, I just randomly posted about it on X, and someone comes out in the comments like, my father is dealing with a certain organization, XYZ. But they sign and clear contracts, and in the contracts, he's told he's going to receive, like, let's say 25 million. And when the money comes, they tell him they can only give him 8 million with a lot of excuses. That means it is not being regulated. Farmers do not actually know what they are selling.
Let me ask. So I enter into an agreement that I'm going to plant this kind of trees and I am hoping to get this kind of credits. What if I choose to cut it down before that time?
Then you're out. Then you've broke the agreement. And
who do I make this agreement with? So there must be like a regulator.
There should be a regulator, but with Uganda, it's not.
But it's my land.
It's your land.
10 acres. I put my tree. Tomorrow I get an idea of putting a bar in these trees.
But once you've entered that agreement, and like it shows, we are going to pay you this much after a certain amount of time, XYZ, because your trees are saving the environment.
You know the thing I like about that explanation. Let me try to make it. I don't know how simple I'm going to make it for people who are watching us to understand it. Trees breathe in carbon dioxide. That is our science. Yeah. P2 or P3 or something around there. Now, if you cut down the trees, the carbon dioxide that is released by probably. Do factories release carbon dioxide as well?
Yes.
Okay, that bad release of air into the atmosphere that was ideally meant to be consumed by the trees goes into the space or the atmosphere or the ozone layer, whatever it is up there, hence causing climate change because of the heat that then these gases destroy the ozone layer, and then we receive almost direct heat or maybe direct heat. So we suffer those consequences there. So akumukategedde. Now, if you plant the trees, the encouragement or the initiative for us to continue planting trees is to have more trees that are going to now consume this carbon.
Yes.
So that it's not released into the atmosphere. And then chums come.
Yes.
I call them chums in our language.
Ideally, if this information was being passed on to the local farmer, the people, that you don't have to cut your trees to actually sell off timber, to do whatever, you can actually earn from this.
You can earn from the trees also being there.
Yes, you can earn from your trees being there. Would have a less deforestation percentage. Because the other day I was reading a certain report, and our deforestation percentage is really high. I was comparing it with that of Kenya, because I was comparing our climate change policy, our national climate change policy
with the one for Kenya.
And also seeing how their carbon credit system works. They have a register. Farmers know I have 500 carbon credits registered with the ministry. If any NGO comes and they're like big companies, let me say communication companies, they also try to offset emissions they produce in the atmosphere. But sometimes they might not be able to. So what they do, they have to buy carbon credits to compensate for the emissions they are producing, so that they offset. You get?
I get it.
Yeah. So, like, that is how companies come to buy the carbon credits. They know Kenya has 1 million carbon credits registered. Company X, we are producing this amount of emissions in the atmosphere. It is a requirement that we protect the environment. So how do we offset? We do not have land to plant these trees, but we can buy carbon credits. We can support a farmer X to keep their trees that are taking in what we are producing. Hey,
that is a good science, by the way, guys. If you get it, you will definitely benefit from this. But I see the initiative, and it actually makes sense. And then I'm encouraged to plant my trees and leave them there so I can spend my old time, my old age, enjoying the fresh air, but also enjoying some money that will come through it. Thank you so much for coming, Tavaro. We'll see you some other time when you come by. I hope when I call you, you'll come this time there. It's been the Creative Youth Agency podcast, and I encourage you to subscribe and learn more here. My name is Darren, and I'm your host. I'll see you in the next one.